This is Ellen Marks, Roger Sherman, Building Committee, July 7th, 2020. Eric?
All right. This is Eric Lang, the chairman. The meeting is officially called to order. First item on the agenda is an update from Colliers on the lockers, quotes for painting the walls above the locker and installing the rubber base, an update on the construction schedule, as well as an update on the financial status report. So, Mark, take it away.
Yep. Mark Schweitzer, Colliers. Locker update. The warranty work will take place on this Friday. The replacement fronts got shipped to New Hampshire, and they received them. Received word last week that they will be coming down on this Friday and it's a one-day event to replace the locker fronts on the 48-inch lockers in the corridor. Item B, the quotes for, well, I'll stop there if there's any questions on that.
Nope, I don't have any.
Okay. Going forward with the quotes, we did receive the quotes for the rubber base, the shelving, and the painting. For the rubber base, we received actually two alternates that we will choose later. One of the alternates is to replace the first tile in front of the lockers by removing the existing and then installing a new tile in front of that, butt it up to the base of the lockers to infill that gap between, and then come in and put rubber base in front of the lockers. The other alternate we have for that is just replace that first tile next to the lockers, but not coming in and putting the rubber base in. Afterthought is the rubber base will prevent water from, when they do the stripping and waxing of the corridor floors, from getting in underneath the lockers, which is probably what you want. So, but there are two alternates there. I did get a quote for the shelf in the one kindergarten room, and that is in your. All these proposals came from contractors that are the on-call contractors for Fairfield Public Schools. And then the third quote I got was for the painting, and there's two alternates there. The sketch had doing the two walls for the lockers, the entire wall from basically, corridor end to corridor end. And then there's another alternate in there to just cut in at the lockers. So around the door, they would do the wing walls to the front of the lockers, and then the whole wall that has the lockers on it, but cut it in everywhere else, which is like $2,500 cheaper just to cut it in. And I will stop for any questions on those.
When you say cut it in, you mean as opposed to
doing the entire wall
into a corner or something?
Well, what they would do is go the face of the CMU that's parallel with the locker fronts. They would paint that, but on a flat. If it was a wing wall, that the 6-inch wing walls, they would do that whole face. But if it's a flat wall that's greater than the wing wall, they would follow the mortar joints down. So they would, it's running bonds. So they would do half a block, then a full block, half a block, and they would just follow the mortar joint down.
So it's Mark, it's anything. This is Jenna, sorry. It's basically anything that's exposed to view. Is that right?
Well, one of the options is anything exposed to view on that wall. The other option is if it's a 6-inch wing wall, they'll do the whole face. If it's a wall greater than, a block, they'll cut in the block. They'll just go to the nearest mortar joint and follow that down the wall.
Got it. So you could potentially, just given the age of that paint and the last time it was painted, you'd likely see a, for lack of a better term, a jagged line down the face of the wall, between the new and the old.
Yeah. I mean, the painter's the one that came up with it. It is a cheaper price to do it this way. I guess he's done it elsewhere in the district for the district this way. That's why I had him price it both ways.
And really, what's the condition of the existing paint job? I would have to actually see it again to really see, do we really need to repaint the whole thing? I guess your input on that would be good.
Well, I mean, it's not a bright white that you're using, so it's almost an off-white, so it holds dirt pretty well. It doesn't show dirt as well, or it blends in as it blends in. So following the mortar joint down should have enough contrast between, or enough distance between, that you're not going to see it for 90% of the time. There might be angles that you do catch it, that you would see it. I would probably see it, but the layperson probably wouldn't see it.
Mm-hmm. Do we know when those walls were last painted?
No, I do not.
This is Meredith. Maybe some of us or someone, or I'm happy to go by the school and take a look and figure out what the best plan of attack would be. I think as far as the base goes, it makes sense to do the rubber base and not just replace the front tile.
I'm in agreement with you, Meredith, and Jenna here, and I would also be happy to stop over and look at the paintwork and just see what makes the most sense with other members.
Yeah. I don't think it's anything that needs to be decided tonight, and we can figure out, someone could go by and just be the eyes for us, or whoever's around or whatever.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Maybe share some photos with the committee.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay. Jenna, you'd be willing to do that?
Me too. I feel like I haven't been in the school for quite some time, so it'd probably be good to go in and just take some pictures.
Okay. Great. Thank you. All right. So, all told, adding up these 4 proposals for the base, the tile, miscellaneous tile patch, paint, and the wood shelf above the kindergarten lockers, assuming we take the add-alt on the paint, comes out to about $17,303.90. I guess, my first concern would just be, confirming that we have room in our budget to accommodate this, and that we have available, I guess, contingency in order to do this work.
Well, I've got the total at $14,233, and yes, it is.
That's probably without the the ad alt, right, on the paint?
No, I included the ad alternates. I included worst case. I got $8,325 as my price in there.
Okay. Are the first two? The first two from Bartholomew contracts. Square foot.
Yeah, the first one includes the Cove.
Oh, that's got it.
And the second
Correct.
one doesn't.
Second one doesn't.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, I think I added both of those in. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what was your total? About 14,000.
14,233.72.
Okay. Okay. So I guess maybe this is maybe we skip over the construction schedule update and go to the financial status report, so we can kind of take a look at that as it relates to the these costs.
Eric, can I just jump back one sec and ask a question?
Yep.
Jenna again. So it basically between the two quotes, it's basically like $1,400 for the actual Cove base. Is that right? Between the 4528 for the first one and the second one, which is 3070. It just seems like a no-brainer to not do the base, the Cove base, from a cleanliness standpoint.
Oh, just from a maintenance point of view.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I think that's probably something that we probably could all commit to without even going on site to look at. But that's just my thought.
Patrice Klein, just point of clarification. This is all related back to that. After the installation, we didn't feel like we had a finished-looking product, right? This is that part of the job, correct?
Yeah, I think it's from when the committee went to the school and we thought it could look a little, cleaner around the bottom.
Yeah, and we couldn't get anywhere with the people who did it, so then now we're outside and this is what we've got. But okay, I get it.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit outside of what we expected them to do. I think just when you take out something old and put in something new, there's a little bit of a gap there,
Mhm.
Right.
So should we move to the financial, Mark?
Yep. I distributed the financial report. Within there, I have encumbered the higher quotes of the three on the third page of the PDF for the 2020-07-06 FSR. I have encumbered the Ferraris paint and the Bartholomew contract interiors and the Giacobbe construction. Those are the three quotes, and I've chosen the higher of the higher of the alternates for each. So that those three total of $14,233.74. So going back to the first page, we still have a project contingency. We have $31,300 left in the project contingency. And we are showing we're still to the good on the project of $27,000.
And what about this big, the electrical bill? Where does that stand in all this money?
That's within the what we call the 6 block, the contingency. That change order is encumbered in the $111,000. in the
so
plan.
we're assuming we're paying for that at this, like, just for point of discussion?
We encumber the money because that's the worst case.
Right, got it.
If we negotiate a better deal, we put the actual number in, and the money goes back into to be spent.
Got it.
All right.
Right, we just don't have a lot of wiggle room.
Yeah.
No, but it is in effect, you have 3 months left.
Right, and do you have any idea, how long it would, once we gave these guys the go-ahead to do these 3 things we're talking about, do you have any idea how long it would take on timing?
They'd be done before the start of school.
Right, but I just wonder if we wait another month or, if we give them a couple weeks heads up, is that enough?
A couple weeks should be enough. I know the flooring contractor is doing work in Fairfield this summer at other schools. I think that's a 3 or 4 day item. So if he needs to, he can come back down. The painter, even if necessary, the painter could probably come in off hours after school has ended.
Right. I don't know if his quote, one of the quotes said it during regular hours.
Might extend them a little bit.
Yeah.
Meredith, you're asking this so that we can potentially make the vote tonight or withhold the approval until Jenna goes in and takes a look.
Well, I think we should let Jenna take a look. I don't think think this has to get done. Personally, I don't think we need to vote on this tonight. And then, I would love if we can wait another month and vote on it then, and we still have 3.5 weeks before the start of school. To me, the floor tile makes a lot of sense and should get done. And the second most important thing, I guess, would be the plywood on top of the kindergarten lockers, because stuff really would fall down there. And I guess, the painting I'd like to have done, but, that would be the first thing I would cut if we ran out of money. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
Well, and I'm very happy. I can pop over there tomorrow. It's like I can get over there quickly.
Yeah. Would you guys think that this is something we need to vote on tonight, or is everyone okay waiting 2 weeks, assuming we have a meeting in 2 weeks?
I'm just concerned that we get slammed every time, we hold back. Yet I would like to know the difference, between what we're looking at. I can't recall it myself from this far out away from it. But I could honestly say I cannot see myself holding up, granting this allocation of funds at this time.
Yeah.
I think
as long as we have it to grant.
Right.
That's the big question.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
But I think the general sense of the body is we're all in agreement we'd like to do these 3 things if we can afford to.
I think that's the general consensus.
Yeah. So why don't we, if it's okay, Eric, we could go with that being the sense of the body. Ellen, you put that in the minutes, and then Jenna goes to take a look. And, Eric always has the authority to approve these invoices as chairman if, we think we want to, if for some reason we don't have a meeting in 2 weeks and we want to get going on it or what have you.
Right. We want to move it prior to a vote. That would be great.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
The other thing, Jenna, when you go is floor tile color.
Oh.
Because the proposal did mention, or when the guy was there to do his measurements for the proposal, he has never seen this tile. Of course, he's probably only been in the business 10 years, but it's like a seafoam green, so I don't think they make it anymore. So we might want to choose like a white or some color that goes with that floor tile.
Mark, do we have to replace the floor tile with the cove molding, like cover that little gap or not?
No, it wouldn't.
Okay.
So why would we not just leave the seafoam green as is and just the cove base?
Well, you would need to replace that one tile in front to butt it to the bottom of the locker. Yes.
So we could essentially, but that was really, I think, not very pleasing to have a different striping of a tile right adjacent to the lockers.
Yeah.
Unless it was the color of the lockers.
We'll have to look at that. Yeah. Okay.
I think, Mark, maybe you could give Jenna the person's contact information that she should contact before she goes over to the school.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I could even go over there. I mean, get some samples even and just lay them out on the floor adjacent to the locker in the basement, and we kind of get a sense of the overall visuals.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Mark, just give me the contact on that, and I'll work with that person.
I think they just want a heads up if anyone from the committee comes over.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Is Dr. Banner on this call?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I can work with you as far as getting access and.
Well, the contractor's on site every day.
Okay.
So they will, I will email him, let him know that you're coming.
Okay. I'll just work with you then directly.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Mark on the financial status report, or?
I just have a question if we're anywhere with the electrical change order, but we can get to that if you want when we get to Silver Petroselli or.
No, I mean we should handle it now because obviously it's a big number that jumps off this plate, or off this page, I should say.
Yeah.
So, Mark, do you want to give an update on the latest conversations with diversity on this item?
Yes. We had a meeting end of last week. No, the end of the week before. And basically we have come to what their position is they don't own it. They had, not only the bidder that the electrician that they originally had, but the electrician that they currently have was also a bidder, and he didn't carry it either as far as the wire between the service and these panels. So even though it's indicated on the drawings to be part of this project, none of his electricians carried it, and they did not have a thought to send it in an RFI to clarify if it is part of this project, if it was confusing to them that the panels were not part of this project, but the wire was. They made an assumption, and it was not a correct one. So what we are doing, we are seeking alternate ways of doing this. Their proposal includes going through the corridor, above the ceiling in the corridor. When Yankee Electric originally quoted this way back when everything wasn't known, they were going over the roof to get to and poke down through where these panels are. So that is still an option. So we're going to seek different prices for that, between them and another subcontractor to perform the work. going across the roof.
Them being Yankee?
Yes.
Okay. So the $111,300 that you have in the financial status report is the number that Diversity has submitted to do this work by pulling the wire through the corridor ceilings, correct?
Well, that the $111,000 is made up of $82,900 for that work, and then the balance of that is two other PCOs or PCOs, COPs, whatever change order, proposed change orders or PCOs. Two other PCOs that Diversity has on the books, and then the $14,000 from the three proposals, and then I have $6,500 as a PCO for one of them. For $4,000 is as Yankee was getting the certificate of occupancy for the electrical or for their work for the electrical service, the building official requested that the water meter be the water meter be grounded. So that is, the water meter comes in at all the way on the other end of Byrne Street. So they will need to clamp on either side of it and run grounds outside. So I have a PCO for that work of $4,000, and I also have $2,500 in there for AIS to come in and glove bag the insulation on one side of the water meter. So between those 8 PCOs makes up the $111,000.
Okay. So there's about $8,000 in other PCOs from Diversity. Is that right?
Yeah.
After you add up the $14,000 for the locker touch-up work, the $6,500 for the water meter grounding.
Correct.
Can you give a nature of what those other PCOs are? That total $7,900.
Yeah, one of them, RFI 6 which was the duct run in the APR. That was $5,000, and then they have a PCO for RFI 5, which was to remove the duct above the stage and infill the masonry opening on the exterior wall for that duct.
For about $2,900.
26, 27.
Okay. Okay.
Mark, this is Meredith. Is there any way to determine if other people who bid on this project also kind of made this same omission, or I'm just not real comfortable, like they didn't see it, and so would that be universal among other electricians, or is it just their electrician didn't see it?
At this point, essentially 8-9 months after, there were 2 other bidders. One didn't submit on time. I doubt after 8 or 9 months that those bidders still have their bid files handy to them.
And we don't have a copy of the bid?
Well, yeah, I can check with Gerald to see if but it wouldn't be broken out to that. Right. It would be a lump sum for the general contractor, and then he would list his, 4 major subs, and, the price would be in there, would be within the electrician's price.
Right, I understand. I just, it's just always kind of hard when they say, well, I didn't read it that way. And and the architect was very firm that they should have.
Right, and they didn't ask the question that, hey, at bid time,
Mark, this is Patrice.
Yes.
This is where I have a question. Where is the owner's rep? When you throw out all these acronyms about they didn't send an RFI, I have no idea what that means except that they didn't question it. And my question is, what about your questioning it? And then you're acting as our negotiator in getting them to take ownership of these things. How many of those have you resolved in our favor? I'm beginning to wonder.
Well, I work for the owner, and we are getting the.
We're the owners.
Yes, I understand that, and we are getting the project done on time and on budget. So we're negotiating all that through, and part of the owner's rep is to head these things off at the pass, and some of them are, if it's not. You look at the drawings and you see the standard architectural graphics of dark lines and uncloud. It's clearly indicated that what work was in phase 1, which was Yankees work, and what work was in phase 2. By the phase 1 work was clouded and had a call out saying that it was phase 1 work, and then everything else is bold lines indicating that it is part of this work.
So I understand your approach to the clarification, but I'm still missing, why you would have had more to play with if they submitted an RFI. RFI is what you said earlier in the meeting.
RFI.
If
they submitted instead of them assuming and interpreting the architect's drawings on their own, if they sent the RFI, it would have clarified that what is owned in the project versus what they assumed was not owned in the project.
So that's my point. Isn't that a striking point for you? Isn't that your argument to this particular contractor? You didn't set an RFI, and this is part of the program, and
that was
part of the project.
That was stated to them. Yes.
But this is still being discussed, right? We don't have resolution on this.
We do not have resolution on this.
Right. Well, I think you kind of know, how the committee feels. At least I'm in.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll hopefully it gets resolved in our favor. We're not done yet.
Correct.
Hi, all. This is Sal Morbido. Could I just jump in on this?
Sure. Go ahead, Sal.
Part of the process in a construction project is that there is a contract between the owner and the contractor, and in that contract, the decision maker or the initial decision maker is the architect. So, in these type of arguments, ultimately it falls upon the architect to say the reasoning behind the interpretation of the drawings of their documents. And in the discussions that we've had, Silver Petroselli is pretty clear, and I've been around the block a couple of times, and I'm comfortable with their position on this. Is that it is clearly shown in the drawings and documentation, regardless of the RFI. But there is an RFI that was put in, and it even states that the interconnection of the service and the panels are part of Phase 2. Ultimately, the actual worst-case scenario is this is adjudicated in a court. Between that, the contractor if a contractor is refusing to do the work, we have a performance we have a performance bond. Ultimately, we can say, or the architect can make a determination, this is your work, you have no argument on it, you can follow the provisions of the contract, which ultimately is they would go into suit with the town to dispute it, and it would go to a court. But in the meantime, they're supposed to do the work, and if they refuse to do the work, we would call their bond. I mean, there's no playing around with this. I mean, we could get an alternate price just to argue the point of their pricing, but ultimately, we have a performance bond. That's why we have a performance bond, so that we don't get held up on this, because every contractor can say, well, I didn't read your drawings that way, give me a change order.
Right.
Right. Well, I appreciate your clarification, Sal, and I'm a little bit apologetic towards Mark. So, Mark, you can I give you a little apology there, okay?
Thanks, Patricia.
I wasn't doing it for that, but
no.
Well, you know what? I feel like I'm somebody, like I don't know a lot of these acronyms, but I do know how much money we have, and I do know in certain instances along the way it seems like we paid twice for the same thing. So I'm trying to avoid that. And as Mark said, his job is to bring it in on time and on budget. So I'm holding him to that. That's it. So I'll stop giving you the little needles right tonight, okay?
No, it's a perfectly fine position to be in, especially as a guardian of the serving the citizenry of the town. You want to make sure you're doing things right. So that's absolutely your place to raise your hand and say something.
Okay. Well, I'm feeling sufficiently stifled with your clarification, and
I'm glad I'm able to help with the clarification.
And the others are glad you stifled me.
And I think it's also useful to hear what the what the current strategy is. In the event that we don't come to a resolution on the scope of work that's under dispute here, because quite frankly it is a lot of money, and it eats up a large chunk of our contingency, and as we all know, this job has very severe ramifications if we exceed our budget. So knowing that there are provisions in our contracts, such as calling their bond to cover these costs, that's I think it's certainly beneficial for me to hear. I mean, I guess the question that I have is, in that instance, how does that work? How does that factor into our overall budget, if anything? Like, does if that $82,000 or almost $83,000 for the cost of this work, because the work needs to get done. The building doesn't get powered up, and these HVAC units don't get powered up if this wire's not pulled. So if in the act of calling their bond, how does that impact our actual budget that we need to report to either OSCG&R or that we need to report to, I guess, the state to determine FEMA compliance?
Well, this is Sal again. You have OSCG and R. We would have to, if we were in a lawsuit. I think I would be. We probably would have two payment apps. One that brought it to 85% of project total, and then if we were spinning around in a court case, we would wait for the resolution of the court case to close out the accounting. So that explains OSCG and R. So that's controllable. As far as far as I know, we're not flirting with exceeding the FEMA account. I mean, Mark's keeping track of that. I mean, even if we ended up paying that out, I don't think we're exceeding FEMA. Correct, Mark?
Correct.
Yeah. So, I think even if the other unaccounted for, $27,000 that's not quote unquote encumbered, even if that went to FEMA, I don't think we wouldn't exceed our FEMA cap. So I think we're in good shape on it. It's just a matter of we're using every last dollar. We would be in a little bit of a different position if we had gone with the alternate to do those two bathrooms down by the gymnasium. But right now we just got to get to the end of it. We'll solve the controversy one way or another to spark up the building, power up all these units, and there might be a little bit of drama, but not everything is a walk in the park sometimes.
All right.
And then if I can just add in something, because I was multitasking and I couldn't step in when you were talking about the floor tile. The only thing that I would want to say is that I would like to see that done by the end of the first week of August, so that it would be given at least 2 weeks for the glue to dry. Because the last thing that we do for summer cleaning is scrub and wax the floor. So I would want to give that a good 14 days to dry. So if Eric is ready to, after Jenna's input, to give Mark the nod to get the POs out, I would have a higher comfort factor on that. Just throwing my 2 cents in on that one.
I actually have a general question about that too. As far as the asbestos mitigation, the tile and removing that tile closest to the lockers, is there an issue there?
No.
Okay.
No. The tile, what was asbestos when they were doing the lockers was what was under the lockers, not in front of the lockers, because the hallways had previously been abated in 2002 or whatever, when they did those hallway floors.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to confirm that.
Yeah.
On it.
Okay.
Get over there as quickly as I can and talk to Travis Pullen.
All right. Okay. Any other questions for Mark? Or why don't we, Mark? Can you give us an update on the construction schedule?
Yes. Essentially the cassettes or the air conditioning has been installed the units have been installed in all the classrooms. The heat pumps have been placed up on the roof. The condensation piping, if not complete, will be complete shortly, and the electrical for these units in the classrooms will be completed shortly. The fire sprinkler is already out of the classrooms. They are out of the admin. I believe they are heading to the APR. They only essentially have three. They have the APR left, the gym, and the library media center left for fire sprinkler. They should be wrapping up mid-July, at least according to their schedule. According to their schedule, they should be out by mid-July. The rooftop units, as of June 30th, the RTU3 was at the shop, being trucked in at the end of last week to be slung up on the roof. The other two units are scheduled to be shipped from the manufacturers for early August arrival. So, and what they are doing in front of the shipping of those two rooftop units, one being for the library media center and the other one for the gym, is they're doing all the prep work for that, running the duct work in the gym and running the electrical and the gas piping to these units up on the roof. So all they have to do after they place these units is make the final one or two pieces to tie it into the unit, and then test and inspect them.
Okay. One question on the VRF condensate line piping. I've had on multiple jobs where I've installed these, if the insulation on that condensate line piping is not super tight, any gaps between one length or the next is going to result in condensation building up on the pipes, dripping, and you're going to get leaks and you're going to be chasing them all over the place. So who on our team is going to be responsible for kind of inspecting those lines from end to end to make sure that there's no gaps in that insulation?
Well, for the overall design and construction administration, that is Silver Petroselli. We'll be looking at that. I mean, I will also be on site, and I will see it also when I'm there, but I have limited time down there.
Okay. So is okay. I mean, we can I guess discuss it with Silver Petroselli when we get to that item in the agenda. But I did want to bring it up because it seems like it's on every job. There's always a comeback for it. Once these things get fired up, there's always a leak always presents itself, and it's always the same thing. It's a gap in the insulation, or the insulation gets torn through construction by other trades or whatever, and it starts presenting itself. And normally, at least in my line of work, it's after the tenant has already moved in, and it's a big black eye on me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. and given the, well, I mean, I guess the RTUs are delayed, and I guess when firing these units up is going to be dependent on resolving this electrical issue, right?
Correct.
So we wouldn't even have the benefit, or we may not have, much time to run these to to try to identify any potential issues before school starts if we don't get this resolved in a timely manner.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So I know you guys are working on it and working to resolve it. So, let's just keep pushing at it and let's get it resolved sooner rather than later, because we're only about 6 weeks away from the start of school. So
or so we know.
Potentially, in theory.
Correct.
It's Meredith. Ellen, did you get that Eric's question for the minutes? Just so we remember to follow up on that. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any more questions for Mark from the committee?
For me.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is an update from Silver Petroselli on construction and change orders, although Mark kind of handled the change order aspect. But any further comment from Silver Petroselli would be welcome. I believe.
Hi, this is
Marty. Are you on?
Marty. Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, just one comment about the condensate piping potential leakage, if you will. Mark might be able to comment more on this, but generally the contract will own a year's worth of warranty for workmanship. So if we do discover a problem next spring or early next summer, I would think they'd be on the hook to resolve any issues with that. We can look into that further. In terms of construction update, Mark actually covered most of it. We're working on coordinating some issues in the library. The unit they provided is different manufacturer than what I specified, so we might be rotating the unit or might be potentially moving it to a different bay, because what they discovered was the trusses were not the same width as what was on the existing drawing, and then the configuration of the unit was slightly different. So I'm working with diversity on a daily basis with that. We also had some suggestions for routing ductwork for the cafeteria slightly differently. We had called it to come out into the caf, go up the pitch of the roof, and then go down the center. They'd like to run it behind the stage. So I met with Sal and George from Diversity last week. So we think we found a solution. So we're just waiting for the sheet metal guys to get back with us. And the only other RFI, we've got 2 other RFIs out there. One was fire protection one on how to route it in the caf, so we can avoid the mural at the end of the caf. And the other was a suggestion from the sheet metal contractor. In the gym, we have I think it's a 30 by 30 rectangular ductwork, and I called to wrap it with duct wrap, and they suggested maybe doing internal lining would probably look a little nicer, to be honest with you. So we received, on the phone, they thought it would be a wash. Then they came in and said it'd be an ad. So we're looking at clarifying the numbers to see if it's worth doing or not. Other than that, as Mark said, the VRVs are basically in place. They have to run the refrigerant piping, and other than that, they're doing a pretty good job. I'll probably go out there again later this week. I've been going out on a weekly basis just to check up. That's all I have.
Okay. Okay, so the internally lined ductwork
Yes.
that they mentioned was an ad. Is that the $5,000 PCO that Mark quoted earlier?
Might have been. I thought it was more like 6,600 or something. But I think what's a possibility with that is when we had the phone call last week, we should get a credit for the installation that I called for. So I'm suspicious that's just the ad from the sheet metal guy, because he would do the internal lining. And I don't think it included the credit for the installation from the insulator. So we're following up with that right now and expecting a clarification. And it just $6,600 is a lot of money to line 52 feet of ductwork. It's a big amount of money for that. So hopefully we'll have some clarification for next week.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for Marty from the committee?
It's Meredith. It's either for Marty or Mark. I know there was some discussion from the custodian, Joe Sesti, that he wasn't happy with how things have been cleaned up. Has that been discussed and addressed? Or maybe Sal could answer that.
It was this is Mark Schweitzer. It was an issue early on. Then we didn't hear anything about it for probably about 3-4 weeks. At the last OAC meeting, Joe was on, and he said it was better, but it's started to lapse, which it tends to do in the summertime with subcontractors that with no one around, they tend to not clean up as well as they should. So we asked that Diversity jump on the subs again to remind them that they have to clean up daily.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Mark or Marty? All right. Next item on the agenda is to hear, consider, and act upon the minutes of the regular meeting of June 2nd, 2020. I will make a motion to approve those minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second. It's Meredith.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Meredith. All right. With that, I'll open up to discussion. Any comments on the minutes from the committee? All right. Not hearing any. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Not hearing any. Any abstentions? None. Okay. Next item on the agenda is to approve or to hear, consider, and act upon outstanding invoices. So let me just pull them up here.
There was actually 3 of them. 2 of them I sent out on last Friday, and then Yankee Electric submitted one that I received yesterday, and I did a revision and sent it out with the certified copy of the diversity pay application yesterday.
Okay. Okay, so let's the first item on the list is pay app number 3 from Diversity Construction Group, dated June 30th, 2020, in the amount of $621,315.00. I'll make a motion to approve this invoice. Do I have a second?
It's Meredith. I'll second.
Thank you, Meredith. With that, I'll open it to discussion by the committee. Anyone have any questions or comments for Mark on this invoice? Or Marty, for that matter?
Yeah, this is Patrice. How much of their total is that, of this line item in the...
They will have... I'm pulling it up now. Their contract sum to date is $2.237 million. They will have 1.3 is completed. So
After
they will
this
have
payout?
yes. So they, including retainage, there's still over $1 million left.
Okay.
And that 1.3 of work completed to date equates to about almost 59% of their total contract.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, not hearing any, we'll put it to a vote. All those in favor of approving this invoice, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Not hearing any. Any abstentions? No abstentions. All right. Next invoice is from Collier's Project Leaders. Is that a new name there, Mark? Are you guys rebranding?
Yeah, probably since last November. I finally got around to updating the invoice packet. I think last month I recognized that international was misspelled, so I figured I'd put the new name on there.
Got it. All right. So invoice number 6451, dated May 31st, 2020, in the amount of $4,469.50. I'll make a motion to approve this invoice. Do I have a second?
It's Jenna. I'll second.
Thank you, Jenna. Any comments from the committee? All right, not hearing any. All those in favor of approving this invoice, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Not hearing any. Any abstentions? All right. And then the last invoice is from Yankee Electric, invoice number 21281, dated July 2nd, 2020, in the amount of $70,456. I will make a motion to approve this invoice. Do I have a second?
Patty, second the motion.
Thank you, Patty. I'll open it up for discussion. Just for clarification, Mark, this is contract work that we had contracted Yankee to do last year, originally to do last year. And this seems to be a final pay app, completing all of their contracted work, and a total release of retainage as well, correct?
Well, there was no retainage held, but yes, there is no balance to finish on this, correct?
Okay. Now, have all, I guess they haven't signed off the job yet, right? Because we have this grounding issue from the town inspector. And if we're not keeping any retainage, how is that? Well, you said they're going to charge a change order for that work, correct?
Correct.
No.
I guess
I'm sorry, Sal, jumping in. There's no change order for what Yankee has to do is put a jumper on the water service line past the meter to either side of the meter. It just so happens that it's on the extreme end of the building from where the service was done. And there's some asbestos pipe wrap. The change order would be for, well, not a change order. It would be a bill from AAIS to do a glove bag to remove that so that they can put the jumper in. And that completes the bonding. The electric service is one of the grounds is the water service pipe because it's connected to the grid in the street. The water meter interrupts that. The building inspector is correct that a jumper needs to be put in there. Yankee is not charging for that. They can't take the asbestos out. We have to have AAIS do that. So and it's such a small thing on their end. Truthfully, I trust them because they do such an amazing amount of work for the town. They're good for that, and you can put a provision on to hold the check for 2 weeks if you want.
That's what we're looking at here to get that abated and then to.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Mark. Yeah, Mark has already talked to AAIS, and we're just waiting for them to say. It's literally an hour's worth of work on site, if that. It's just a matter of getting the guy to drive there and do it.
Okay.
And then
all right, well, look.
Yankee similarly would have less than an hour's worth of work on that.
Yeah. Okay. I think I would feel more comfortable approving this. Especially since there's no. It is a final pay app, so we obviously want them to complete the job. So I think I would propose revising the motion to make the approval contingent upon all the completion of this work as Sal just outlined it, and all sign-offs from the agencies having jurisdiction.
That should do it.
I think if we can just get the wording instead of as Sal just described or something, let's make it so it's just a little clearer for anyone who's following along by reading the minutes.
My suggestion is just make the motion payment contingent upon receipt of final sign-off from building official of the new electrical service.
Good. Ellen, can you read that back, please?
Yep. Okay, so I will write it the way I usually do, but then add contingent on receipt of final sign-off of new electrical service.
By the town building official.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, all right. Any other questions from the community? All right. All those in favor of approving this invoice as stated, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right. All opposed? Not hearing any abstentions? No. Okay. All right. Next item is to hear, consider, and act upon any change orders. Do we have any
None
change
to
orders
present.
we need to approve? Okay.
Nope.
All right. Thanks, Mark. All right. Next item, any old business? Any old business anyone on the committee would like to raise? All right. Not hearing any new business. Any committee members would like to raise? All right. Not hearing any. I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I will second that motion. That motion.
Thank you.
It should be the motion now.
All right.
That motion is seconded by Patrice. Yay.
All right. Thank you, Patrice. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Have a good night, everyone. Stay safe.
Night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night,
everyone. Good night.
Bye. Bye-bye.